Welcome to the 2026 Ultimate Canada High School Invitational. We are here in Cambridge, Ontario. My name is Kimberly Morin, and I'm joined by my partner Sanjay. Hi, Sanjay.
Hi, Kim. So excited to be here. What a semifinal we have. We've got Glebe versus Bowmanville, two heavyweights in this division. I'm really looking forward to this game.
It is proving to be quite interesting. I was looking over some of the input that both of the coaches put in for this game. Both of these teams are coming in with the desire to win it all, and that's the attitude that we want to see today. Both the teams quite a successful day yesterday. Bowmanville came out, they were ranked first in their pool. They won all three games against St. Francis, Humberside, Le Coude, coming out first in their pool. Glebe, same thing. They actually won two, lost one against Kelvin High School. So they were second in their pool to Kelvin that we saw earlier this morning on the stream. And so a very strong team. A tough loss against Kelvin, but we're excited to see what they have here against Bowmanville today.
Glebe is coming in hot. They had a major upset in the quarterfinals, defeating ECI, who were heavy favorites to go back to back to back winners this year. Instead, they won 7-6, and now here they are in the semifinals.
Quite an exciting game that we have. So we are starting on D. We see here I cannot find the name on that. Is this Talons?
I believe that looks like it's going to be Bowmanville receiving. It looks like compared to Bowmanville pulling. My bad. It looks like compared to yesterday, the wind has really picked up. You can see it in their shirts. You can see it in the trees. That's clearly why the first game was such a blowout. It's gonna be one of those games where if you can get an upwind point, that could define this whole tournament.
So Glebe starts with an on 0 here. And a great defensive effort right off the bat from Bowmanville. They have a chance to score. They're right on the line of the end zone. Shakalos right off the bat with a break for Bowmanville.
Great inside shot there by Bowmanville. Clearly knew what he wanted to throw and who he wanted to throw to. Honestly, I saw that throw pop up and I was like, that's going to be a tough grab, but they made it look easy. That's an athletic snatch right in the air, brought it down, and that's an early break so early in this game.
Way to set the tone here.
Now Bowmanville have to pull what I think is going to be upwind, see how far down the field they can make it.
And for those at home, I believe the wind is I'm trying to see I'm trying to identify using people's hair or jerseys. I believe the wind is coming from the right side of your screen to the left side. And we have Bowmanville pulling to Glebe for another chance on offense. Chandler Nantel to pick up. And he centers to Brooke. Great offense here, looking so far against a defensive look. Looking upfield, Chandler Nantel once again looking to put it in the end zone. And it is unsuccessful. From what we are seeing, the wind appears to be going from the right to the left side. And in this situation, this would be an upwind huck. So very interesting way to start this game. I love the confidence on that throw. Bowmanville get a chance to work it up on O. Short, centers the disc. Working well here against a defensive zone. Glebe trying to stop any attempt at an easy offense. Averell moves the disc. I believe that's Crawford. I think that's a number 9 on his jersey. It seems like a 0, but Shakalar working well, and they try and put it just past the zone. They're unsuccessful. Thoughts on what this defensive zone looks like, Sanjay?
Yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Glebe. They threw up a similar look yesterday, but to do it on a turned offensive point like that is tricky. We have an update as the wind as that bag flows by. The wind is not consistent. It's kind of messy all the way around. It looks like it's going actually across the field. So from the camera across the field a little bit, but from the what we hear from the sideline, it's just kind of messy. Bowmanville are coming into this game as the favorites given the seating. But this Glebe team are giant killers now. They knocked off UCI. They can do anything they set their minds to.
Chandler Nantel tries to put it in the end zone once again, and that is Deed by Bowmanville. Bowmanville looking to have some quick handler movement, a quick transition here on offense. And they try and huck it downfield. This might
Huck and
be a
pin
game
might
of
end up being
huck and
the
pin.
strategy of the day there,
Exactly.
Kim.
The I was trying to think. No, yeah, that's fair. If it's going to be this windy, I could see that that's an interesting way to put a strategy. We see Bowmanville here with a 3-lady cup. There's zone moment. Nope, not a 3-lady cup. It's a 2-lady cup with one on the bail, kind of a taxi going on. Chandler Natel trying to trying to get out of it, and he tries to huck it across the field. Bowmanville gets it back on O. And they go for quick transition, and they huck it to the end zone, and that is successful.
For you viewers at home, this might not end up being the most beautiful game of Ultimate you've ever seen. Both teams are going to be stuck in corners, and they're going to have to huck their ways out of it. Ultimately, it's going to come down to which team is going to have the cleaner looks and who can transition faster. Also, you know as well as I do, Kim, games like this usually come down to inches. That was not the cleanest grab that she had there in that Bowmanville end zone, but she held on and it counts all the same as the rest of them. So really, it just comes down to it at the end of the day.
So Bowmanville here up 2 breaks. We're looking at an interesting start to the game. We apologize for the camera. We're going a bit high in the sky. I don't know if we're trying to find any UFOs that we've spotted. So we're looking at a 2-break lead by Bowmanville early on in the game. We're 6 minutes in. Curious to see what Glebe is going to bring in terms of offense. I believe we have a timeout here called. Interesting thought, Sanjay. Sanjay, I think it's definitely a vet call to try and reset things here.
Yeah, I like this decision here. I assume that it was Bowmanville. Glebe calling us out. It's an opportunity for the coaches to kind of set a strategy, given what Bowmanville have started with, and to make sure that everyone's aligned on the strategy. I think probably coaches were not psyched about that last huck that they did from that corner, and they want to make sure that they're giving options to their handlers so that this game does not just come down to who can throw it badly in the wind better.
Exactly. We do want to give a big shout out to our coaches, Kevin McLeod from Bowmanville, as well as George Brook for Glebe. This is such an important volunteer role. These are people that truly make a difference in the community. So, coaches, we shout you out today. Thank you for your effort. Thank you for all the energy that you put in fostering these programs. There's a lot going into these athletes and making sure that they're learning and developing. So, big shout out to you. Bowmanville are going to try and put it for the third time here to Glebe. Glebe gets a third chance on offense. And they're going to try and make something work. Chandler Nantel with the disc to Moffat. Chandler Nantel to Moffat. Gets it to the middle of the field. A lot of quick handler movement here, showing that they can throw in the wind. A quick throw here. It's a good idea by Chandler Nantel. Unfortunately not completed. Bowmanville get a chance for a third break in a row. Crawford looking upfield to Short. Short gets it back to Crawford. Crawford looking for the end zone. Quite a significant amount of wind here. You can see a lot of the jerseys floating. And he puts it. We have Shakalar who gets it to the end zone to his teammate Bowmanville, up 3 breaks.
I really like the patience there from Bowmanville in front of the end zone. It's tough in days like this, and I'm sure that was the message from the coaches. Hey, this is going to be one of those games with a lot of turnovers. It's whoever can be more patient in front of the end zone is going to win this whole thing. Bowmanville come into this, they have experience. They've played at this level for a long, long time, many years like this, and the coaches know how to get the squad playing the right way. Unfortunately, that was a commentator's curse when Glebe had possession. You were just saying, "Hey, they look like they've got the handle on the disc now," and then they turned it over immediately. That's on us, Glebe. Sorry about that. It's going to be tough for Glebe. Having a turnover like that right after coaches call a timeout is not what you want to see. But it's up to Glebe to keep their heads up and believe that they can still win this. Just because Bowmanville went 3-0, Glebe can still do the same thing.
Great points. And we are hearing from our boots on the ground that it is starting to rain with high wind. So we're on hold to see if these games are going to keep going. Unfortunately, this is some of the toughest conditions that you're going to have to face as an athlete. So shout out to these athletes on the field. They're doing their best. Tough drop here by Glebe. Bowmanville get a chance on offense. Shekalar walking up to the disc, looking for the end zone. He dumps it to Averell. Averell putting it up the line effortlessly. Back to Shekalar, who tries to get it into the end zone and it's not completed. Glebe get a chance to on once again. Get a second attempt at their offense. And Chandler Nantel is going to put it deep for Alexander. That's a bit too far. The windy conditions are definitely proving to be a little difficult.
I got to tell you, Kim, this Glebe team is looking a little gassed, in my opinion. I think yesterday he might have gotten that. I've seen him play before. I've seen Declan Brook play before, and he's an athletic guy. I think yesterday, with a little bit less wind and not beating ECI in the quarterfinals, he might have gotten that. So whatever it is, that game against ECI, I bet they worked their butts off.
That's fair. Chandler Nantel doing a great job, really just getting the disc moving constantly. The disc is in his hands pretty much every other. Alexander with the disc in his hands, centers it. And they get it done here. Great little short ball really gets them to the end zone. The Glebe is on the board. We have 3-1.
Great play there by Glebe, and that's what they're going to have to do if they want to get a couple more points on the board during this game. I really liked how they were taking the easy look, just keeping the disc moving, and playing against a zone, as you know, Kim, it's all about momentum. Be patient, and then all of a sudden change the tempo, and that's how you get to score. That was a great team play, nothing individually fantastic. A couple of those throws were coming out a little shaky, but they had the luck to keep it in their hands, and that's going to be the tough thing about playing today.
Exactly. We have to mention it. We have number 11 here on the field. We see him walking to the bottom of your screen. Chase Alexander, kind of a son of legends, a prodigy in the making right from the get go, son of Marie Saint Jacques, who is a prominent athlete here out of Ottawa who played for years, and as well as his dad, Derek Alexander, one of the greatest to ever play frisbee out of Canada, and so quite a significant lineage to come out of.
Yeah, not to put pressure on him. Yeah, not to put pressure on him, but he's so far he's living up to the reputation. So credit to him. That's it's tough having parents like that. Hopefully, Derek Alexander, his father, didn't put pressure on him as a kid, and he gets to just play frisbee and enjoy like we all did in high school.
Exactly. Marie Saint Jacques very involved in the juniors program here in Ottawa, so they're definitely on the scene still to this day. Bowmanville looking to start it off on O. Kassir, great shot up the line. Crawford gets it around, and that goes back to Glebe on offense. Glebe has a chance to break here. Burwell going to pick up with a zone against Bowmanville. Kane with the disc. Kane looking to put it. That is deed by Bowmanville. Shakalar looking like he wants to put it, but he chooses against it. Conservative dump. The disc that sails a little bit. Glebe right on that end zone line. A chance for a break. Moffat centers it to Kane. Kane puts it on the far sideline. Gets it back. Burwell looking to work against his zone. To Harry. Great movement here by Glebe, just working throughout the entirety of the width of the field. And just as I said that, we're going to have Bowman back on O. Shakalar dumps it, working with Crawford. Chooses to put it deep. And that gets caught in the wind.
I really like that that second possession that Glebe had there. They were using the full width of the field. They were trying to work through the cup, and they were trying to play like they did the previous point. Tough for them, tough break, and that's the effect of the zone. You're gonna get blocks like that sometimes. That's gonna happen. The first time they had possession, they shot it deep, and I think that's what Bowmanville want. They know they're tall, they know they're athletic, they know it's a windy day. They want Glebe to try and huck in the wind, so Glebe has to try and be patient. It's a tough position right now. They're stuck in the corner. They're stuck in their end zone. The temptation, especially, for a 15, 16, 17-year-old is let's just get it out of the danger zone. But if you can be patient, that's the way you got to beat this team.
Glebe have it on their far end zone. And they attempt to put it. A bit of contact here. We see a foul call. An important part of the game that we very much value is the hand signals. So a bit of what you saw from the Glebe player here. He indicated with his arms across, and that indicates that it's a foul. A lot of the people that are at home can identify some of these calls. There's a foul call, there's a pick call, there's an injury call, and it becomes easier to identify what's going on the field if the players choose to participate in the hand gestures. And it makes it a lot easier for us to understand here in the commentator booth what's going on. I believe the foul was contested here, therefore I would go back to the initial thrower. Glebe is going to attempt to put it once again. And so Bowmanville get it back on O. Bowmanville are calling never in, which means the disc has not come back onto the field, and so they have to go all the way back down, closer to the end zone. They get a shot at an end zone play right from the bat. Sheklar gets it into Crawford, his handler partner. They're able to get on the board. So Bowmanville 4, Glebe 1.
You know, the first 3 points for Bowmanville, I think Glebe, it was easy to walk off the field and feel a little unhappy with how they played. You know, easy turnovers, simple drops, stuff that they never would do in practice for the seventh ranked high school team in the country. But in that last point, yes, Bowmanville did get it, and that's more of the kind of points I'm expecting to see today. A lot of turnovers, a lot of hucks, a lot of windy conditions preventing easy catches, but they can take pride because they were doing what they need to do to succeed in this game. They worked it up several times all the way to their field, and then Bowmanville will just be able to throw it back down their throats. Tough for them to compensate for that, but they know what they're doing, and they've only got one option if they're going to try and win this game.
Great point. We see Bowmanville here have 4 ladies on the line, which means that one of the ladies is meant to pull. We talked about this quite a bit in the broadcast yesterday. I want to reiterate because I think it's such a great implementation. This is a rule that came up. It was implemented, I'd say, a few years ago. This is pretty recent. Forcing, when you have 4 ladies out, it forces one of the women that are on the line to pull. A pull is what you just saw, the initiating throw. And so this forces the women on the line to have to learn how to pull. This is a very important skill when you're on a defensive line as you keep developing as a player. And so we love to see it. We love to see women getting involved and learning how to pull effectively. It's definitely a skill that you learn over multiple years. Bowmanville picking it up here. Shakalar looking to the end zone with a great throw here. A zippy throw to his lady partner, but I can't see your number. I would love to give you your props, but Bowmanville 5-1.
You know, we've been talking a lot about Glebe so far, but Bowmanville having very tidy in their end zone. This is what you practice as a coach, and it's tough because this is pretty early on. This tournament is pretty early on in the high school season. It's only maybe a month or and a half. You know, teams only have maybe 5 or 6 practices before this tournament. So you're relying a lot of talent, a lot on chemistry, a lot on what you maybe worked on in previous years in the fall to be excellent in this game. And so far, Bowmanville's red zone or their end zone plays have been really efficient. They're really throwing in, they're throwing it hard, they're throwing these inside break throws, which are hard to defend, hard to execute as well, but they're connecting and their receivers are keeping them in their hands. Sometimes it's clean like that last point, sometimes it's a little bit more wobbly like we saw earlier in the game, but they're keeping the points on the board. If Bowmanville can tidy up this game quickly, that gives them more rest going into the finals, so they're going to keep pushing. They're not going to let their foot up for sure.
Bowmanville with the initiating pull, giving Glebe the offensive line. Chandler Nantel to pick up. To Moffitt on the line. Back to Chandler Nantel. Back to Moffitt. So something that we're seeing here from the Glebe offense is that you can see that there are 2 handlers back with someone that looks like they're more of a cutter style in the middle of the field. A very successful tactic that we saw in the previous game is to have 4 handlers back. When you are pinned against a defensive line or a defensive zone of this kind, my inclination is always to have more handlers back. You need to provide a little bit more help in this situation because it's so windy and the successful passes are often the shorter kind. And so provide more support for your handler line. Shot to the end zone by Chandler Nantel. Unsuccessful. Bowmanville get an on-0. On the far sideline, looking upfield. No options, looking to dump backfield. Quick movement from Bowmanville. Shorter passes. Shacklar dumps it back. So we see here Bowmanville are utilizing 4 handlers back. So we see that they have a little bit more help from a handler line, helping them move very effectively across the field. And a quick pop pass. It was dropped, unfortunately, but a great idea.
That was one of the first drops I've seen from Bowmanville today. That's okay. It's gonna happen. That's fine. I thought Glebe's zone defense there was working pretty effectively. The goal there was to take away the hucks, the throws over the top, and let them keep swinging, forcing a mistake, and that's effectively what happened. They were able to throw it over the top, but it was a tough catch for Bowmanville. Glebe here moving the disc really well. As you said, they're not really throwing enough handlers back, but let's see if they can take some easy options and get that disc moving with some easy flow.
Moffat here doing a great job of trying to move the disc with Chandler Nantel. She is one of the athletes to watch this summer. She will be participating in the U20, the Team Canada tournament that's happening, the World Championships is happening this summer. So we send her all the good vibes, and she's definitely showing that she has a list of accomplishments and the talents to help out Team Canada this summer. Bowmanville on the far sideline. Crawford. Back to Shacklar. The unfortunate turf here. It was a good look. It's just the win and the execution sometimes make them difficult to get completed. Chandler Nanted to pick it up, indicating to his players to seemingly back up. Bowmanville back on O. Looking to put it, and that looked like a great idea. Fortunately, the wind is making everything a bit more challenging today, but definitely a great thought. Chandler Nantel tries to get it on the home sideline. It gets caught in the wind. Shacklar to pick up. Gets it to Crawford. Crawford at the middle of the field. And an amazing layout catch here from Bowmanville. A tad bit too far. And this is quite the far field to get to. It looks like he wants to put it, and he does. An attempt at a huck is not completed, giving Bowmanville the chance on O. Quite a bit of turns here, Sanjay. It's going back and forth, back and forth.
You know, it's what we would expect from a game like this. I think both teams have gotten to a bit of a flow in terms of what they're doing. They both know what they want to do from a zone defense point of view. Both teams know how to beat that zone defense. Even the wind, I think, has calmed down just a tad. It's now up to Glebe. Do they have enough tools in their arsenal to force Bowmanville into turnovers and score when they do? Here's a great opportunity.
They're right on that end zone line. Chandler Nantel to pick up. Interesting that Bowmanville's going to keep the defensive zone here, even if they're in an end zone look. White has the disc, gives it back to Alexander. To Chandler Nantel, looking to the end zone. Gets it to Alexander, who punches it up the middle and gets it done. Alexander to... Can we get her to turn around so I can see her number? 11? Could be? No.
Great point there by Glebe. Really important hold that they were able to keep that point. I mean, I suppose that was actually no, that was a hold. That was a hold. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, great hold there by Glebe. Really important that they get some points on the board. They're playing well. I think Bowmanville just started this game a little sharper, a couple fewer mistakes, and that's been the difference so far in this game. There's really not that much to separate these teams so far.
The score was to Tahurai. So Alexander to Tahurai. Glebe pulling to Bowmanville. Slightly out of bounds. They're going to take it at the brick. We're getting a zone look here from Glebe. It appears to be just a two-person cup with a taxi on a bail. And a timeout call here from Bowmanville. We are going to take a break, and we'll be right back after the timeout. While we're in this timeout, I would like to acknowledge that the Ultimate Canada High School Invitational is taking place on lands that are part of the Haldimand Tract and the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Chononton lands. We would also love to thank our sponsors, Be Ultimate and Discraft. And also, we would like to mention that the Art Hawkins Great Canadian Ultimate Game is back next month, running June 1st to 7th across Canada. So from coast to coast, leagues will come together to play one game to raise funds, promote the sport, and play Ultimate. All proceeds support the Art Hawkins Fund, which helps empower youth, develop coaches, and foster inclusivity in communities nationwide. At the halftime, we will be displaying a QR code on the screen to help you give donations. Bowmanville had the disc on O. Kind of a miscue or an execution error here, it looks like. Alexander to pick up the disc. That is not Alexander. My bad. Brooke. Brooke here with the disc with a nice little pop pass to Alexander. Back to Alexander. Back to Brooke. Bresnai. Just a movement between Brooke and Alexander. And Bereznai seals the deal. There seems to be some discussion on the field going on, but it's not a call.
Great point there by Glebe. I really like the possession in front of the end zone. What I didn't like was the lack of movement from the rest of the cutters in the end zone. Now, it's not uncommon to say, okay, the person closest to the front of the end zone, you're isolated. It's going to be you versus your defender. It's up to you to get open. But the people at the back still have to do something to stay active so the rest of the defenders have to play them honestly. I felt like they were too stagnant, and it made it so that the only options there were the reset handlers. And fortunately, one person was able to get open. Someone fell asleep a little bit at the front corner, and they were able to get that goal. But to improve on that zone offense, I want to see a bit more engagement from the rest of the cutters.
I do completely agree with you, Sanjay. I sometimes wonder if it's a chicken or the egg situation. So if you have handlers that are extremely mobile, and I'm completely guilty of this sometimes, I find that I move too much. So I take up space that is not necessarily meant to be mine. And sometimes when you're a handler, you think, oh, I have to get involved, I have to get involved. And so you take up a space that is meant for people that are in the cutting space. And so I'd be curious here if we were to be a fly on the wall for the cutters, if they would say, yeah, but there was not a lot of space on the field.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, Kim. I get it. Both goes both ways. I think ultimately it's a coach's decision on what they want to see from the players. Maybe you just run a dominator. You have three players just focusing on being engaged and let the defenders do what they will, but you have trust in your players that they're going to get open.
Shakalar gets it off the sideline, and it's not completed, so we're giving the opportunity to Glebe to get a break here. Chandler Nantel with the disc, centers it to Brooke. Brooke continues with a swing across the field to Moffat. Moffat showing her throwing skills here. Chandler Nantel with Moffat working well together. Breaking the zone. Great job here by Chandler Nantel, really getting the disc off that sideline. Brooks looking to the end zone. Just a zippy throw that doesn't get completed. The wind is definitely accentuating how difficult it is to catch these really quick discs coming in. Bowmanville decide to punt it downfield, and that is completed. Wunderlich catches that, looking upfield. She gets illegally double teamed. Shakalar looking to punch it in, decides to dump it. And Crawford attempts in the end zone. That is completed to Kasserer. I think that's number 18. Bowmanville on the board, 6-3.
Great high release there by Bowmanville. Really nice break throw to get open to that open corner. Nice cut across. Well played. Bowmanville did what they had to do to get that disc down the field. Tough read there for Isabel Wunderlich. Nice grab. Tough for Glebe. They had two people deep, only one person defending both of them. You can't be everywhere. And Bowmanville were a little shook. Clearly, I think they started dropping stuff that we saw Glebe dropping at the beginning of the game, and now it was Bowmanville's turn, so they decided, let's just get it out of the danger zone, huck it down. Isabel picked it up, and they were able to convert. Nice play there by Bowmanville. You just got to keep a little bit of momentum and keep your heads on straight for the rest of this game.
We have another U20 athlete on the field. Ellie White, number 71 from Glebe, is going to be representing Canada this summer in Logroño, Spain. We have a pull here. Bowmanville, so Glebe on O. Brooke working with Chandler Nantel. Looks like he either wasn't expecting that one or just hands aren't closing.
Just a bit too casual, Kim. You got to really lock in those throws and win like this. You got to zip them in and then trust your cutter receivers to keep their mitts on it. You know, if you relax for a second, the wind will take that disc in places you don't want it to go.
Glebe get a chance on O. Chandler Nantel picks it up on the far sideline to Brooke. A very deep stack here from Glebe.
It was a nice shot there. It was a nice throw, but when you are playing in zone offense, you want to have your deepest player picking a lane, either the right side or left side, forcing their deepest person, the zone defense's deepest person, to have to follow them, and then you have a lane. That throw was right down the middle. It means that it ends up just being a jump ball 50-50, and it just went over both of their heads.
Another attempt at a huck that is not successful, so we get a chance on O. Glebe are trying to collect the frisbee here. And I believe Bowmanville is going to put another clamp on that sideline, on the far sideline.
You know, Kim, we're not supposed to have favorites in this commentary game we do, and I don't. I'm happy for either of these teams to win. I am appreciating that Glebe are trying to play this game the right way, whether that's because coaches think that's the best way to get it in, or it's just because that's how these teams play. I'm appreciating that Glebe are trying to do these short passes, trying to make everyone involved. Oh, there we go. Commentators curse. Whereas Bowmanville seem to just be hucking it down the field because they're scared of something.
Yeah, I am confused at the amount of hucking and pinning that's going on right now. I guess yeah, you kind of have to, but I just find the small ball is just so much more successful. Bowmanville with the disc. Crawford, middle of the field. Short passes back and forth against a defensive zone. Alexander playing tight here on Shakalar, trying to limit his options. Crawford with the disc across the field to short. Short to Averill. Alexander with the D. Looking at Chandler Nantel with a great catch. Chandler Nantel dumps it back. Brooke with the great decision to flow it all the way across the field. And Brooke decides to put it, and that is Deed by Bowmanville.
So Glebe are having to shoot this shot right down to the middle. None of them are coming up super clean, and I give that partly credit to the wind. I saw them put up some better throws yesterday. But what that's saying to me is that the cutters in the middle of the field, are not doing enough to get open. There aren't options to throw the disc through that cup, and the only options that the handlers are seeing are a deep shot to the end zone, which is coming up as three tails of the 50-50.
And it's unfortunate sometimes when it is this windy and the conditions are that difficult to play in because it forces you to have to use a side of your game or it prohibits you from using a side of your game that you're used to using. There are very skillful throwers like Brian Moffitt and Chandler Nanted. They're both great throwers. Same thing with Alexander. And I would assume that Glebe is used to using a very deep part of their game that they're unable to use today simply because of the intense wind conditions that we have.
Great goal there by Glebe. Not unsimilar to the last goal we saw them score. Just a clean possession and then a dish off in that end zone to one of their female matching players. Great play. I think they know that there's only one way that they're going to win this game, and they've committed to it for better or for worse. Since they went down by to 4-1, it's been 3-2 for Glebe. So they just need to keep this momentum and hope they have enough time left in this game to make this comeback a reality.
I do agree. They definitely switched it up. At the beginning of the game, it looked like the couple points they were broken three, four times in a row. And so now they're really putting their minds back into it. They made some adjustments and they're playing very confidently. Speaking of Marie Saint Jacques, we see her in the teal jacket here on your screen, apparently seeming to coach the Glebe team. They seem to have a quite the bolstered coaching squad. I see at least three, if not four coaches. I love that, showing just how stacked the coaching staff.
Well, this is one of the only Ottawa-based teams here at UCHSI, Kim. So I'm not surprised to see them have what is an otherwise pretty robust ultimate community here supporting out this high school.
Interesting. 6-4 Bowmanville versus Glebe. Glebe that were down many breaks off the start, coming back. We are halftime at 7, so their games to 13. We're looking to see if Bowmanville can punch it in, getting their spot at halftime, trying to make it 7-4. Glebe to pull to Bowmanville. Moffat puts it down the field. Shakalar to Crawford. Looking very nonchalant out there. Averill working well. Back to Crawford. Crawford decides to put it downfield to Shakalar, which we're used to seeing in a handler position, but decided to give them a handler strike. And he calls a very skillful timeout. Thoughts on hucking timeout, Sanjay?
Yeah, I mean that decision clearly worked for them there. There weren't really any options, and that's clearly something the coaches trained them to do. When you catch in the end zone, if there's not anything open, call a timeout. We got them to use them. This is the time to use them. What I also feel like is it gives the time for the defense to set up. Right there, it was a 2v2, an opportunity to just have your cutter get open for you. Now it gives the whole Glebe defense an opportunity to set up their defense the way they like it. I'm not pro final third timeouts, but in this situation, it might have been the right call. Bowmanville have been trying this hot game all day, and it's working for them. They have the height, they have the athleticism in that final third to bring down these discs. We saw Glebe. They knew what they wanted to do. They put two at the back. That was a ferocious battle in the sky, and Bowmanville is just too tall. They were going to come down with it every single day.
Man, yeah, the timeout call post huck. My biggest pet peeve is when you have that happen, and then all of a sudden, all the cutters coming downfield just whooshing past you like a foot away from you when you're holding a disc. My frisbee pet peeve. I need people to circle and give space. It just happens every time, and it frustrates me every single
We all have the things that we wish our teammates did better, eh, Kim?
time. Exactly. Bowmanville looking to the end zone. Averill, oh, just barely tries to hold on and is unsuccessful, forcing Glebe to try and have to work it all the way up the field.
It would have been
Chandler
typical
Nanta to
Bowmanville
pick up.
today to have just dropped that disc down, but instead they were able to turn it over. They did force a turnover through Glebe's pressure. Glebe decided to huck it out of that corner instead of trying to play it out, and a big hammer.
Interesting decision.
You're not a fan of that hammer decision there by Bowmanville, Kim?
No. Averill with the disc in the middle of the field. Puts it to Crawford. Up the line. Crawford to Shacklar. Shacklar decides to put it in the end zone, and that is Deed by Chandler Nantel. Who decides to put it? we have a huck off.
Something's clearly changed in this Glebe strategy. They seem to feel like maybe it's the win. They feel like this is the option for them, but they're shooting it now that for some reason in this point when they haven't for the last several. It looks like they were discussing potentially a foul on that catch, and they decided not to. Bowmanville with the disc.
An important part of this sport is the self-refereeing, and so it's commendable here that the two players that were involved discussed with each other and came to a resolution by themselves, withdrawing the call or agreeing at what the outcome should be. So big props to them. Chandler Nantel picking up right on that end zone line to Alexander. Keeps putting it across the field. And Moffitt shows some solid handling skills, gets it up into the end zone. And that's Glebe pushing back. They decided Bowmanville, they're not getting that easy halftime. 6-5.
You know, early early in this game, it looked like it might have been over. It looked like Bowmanville had Glebe's number. It looked like Glebe couldn't keep up, and they had gotten in their heads, and they were dropping too many options. Glebe have fought back, so credit to the mentality on this Glebe squad. They haven't done it yet. Bowmanville can still run this out, and Bowmanville clearly have more than enough weapons to score against this Glebe side. But Glebe have showed that they have the patience and the versatility and the technical excellence needed to win on such a windy day. This is the kind of semifinal matchup we want, Kim. We want to see a team come out strong, and then we want to see the other team fight back for victory, and not just roll over and give up like you might see in other levels of high school.
Great point. I thought that we were maybe headed into a halftime, but I think they're back on the field. There is a chance at going to halftime at 7, but there is also a timed half. And so if you reach the timed half, you have to take that. But I think we're going to keep going.
I think this whole tournament has just been soft cap, Kim. It's just with the score, whoever gets the 7. So Bowmanville here are going to be on offense. If they can keep a hold, it will be half. They'll take it 7-5. Otherwise, it's going to be a tie game.
And secretly, I'm hoping. I would love that. Give us a good showdown. 6-5 Bowmanville. Glebe pulling to Bowmanville to see if they want to take half at 7 or if they're going to push back, get another break. In the end zone, great pull by Alexander, forcing Bowmanville to have to start into their end zone. Shacklar stuck on that far sideline, gets it around to Crawford. Averill and Glebe get it on that end zone line. This is money. Chandler Nantel on that end zone line. Looking to work with Alexander. Oh, and that is a tough one. It's not completed. The disc a tad bit too low for Alexander. Glebe decide to put this a clamp back on, forcing Crawford to have to throw in that wind. Averill gets it across the field. Back to Crawford. Crawford decides to put it. That's a short one. So Glebe get another chance at a break. Around to Alexander, back to Chandler Nantel. And he strikes right off of that. Is that going to be successful? Fortunately, no.
Bowmanville were playing more out of the back than we've seen in the last couple points. And then they had tried to huck with momentum. It didn't work. Let's see if they keep the same strategy, trying to play out of the back, or if we might see a huck from this corner right off the rip. A cone has blown onto the field. A bit of a distraction for the players and for us at home. Just shows how windy it is for a light, tiny cone like that to get blown over the field. Really tough conditions for these players. Not what you want to be seeing at the UCHSI 2026. Here comes the huck.
I don't disagree with that decision from him from the end zone. Honestly, it is a terrifying thought when you're stuck in your own end zone. The wind is blowing at you what feels like 100 miles an hour. So I don't disagree putting it deep, just trying to get out of your end zone. Bowmanville on O. Shacklar to Crawford to Averell. Back to Crawford to Shacklar. Bowmanville doing a great job just working it across the field here, regardless of the intense wind conditions. Great lunge there. that was quite the lovely throw. Cassier to Crawford. Crawford showing he has quite the mobility range, just throwing all around the field, all around his mark. Alexander working with Moffitt here on the line. Gets it to the center of the field to Chandler Nantel. Great job getting it through that zone. Work it up the field. They find Taharai. Alexander across the field to Moffitt, our U20 prospect. Shouldn't say prospect. She's on the team. And that is deemed not in the end zone, so right on that doorstep of the end zone. Chandler Nantel looking for Moffitt. Brooke with the disc, trying to get an around, and that is completed to Burwell. Glebe coming back with another break.
Bowmanville is playing well. I don't want to take away from what Bowmanville is doing in this game. They have a strategy. They have an athletic squad. I think we're just seeing a Glebe team that wasn't expected to be here. They beat the favorites of the tournament in the quarterfinals in a tight 7-6 victory, and now they're the seventh seed, and the other semifinalists are all who we would expect to be here. They've shown great determination, great grit to get here, and now look at them, tied with a point to go to take half. Tough game here from Bowmanville, and we said this earlier, Kim. This game will come down to the mentality of it all. Glebe have shown they are mentally strong, and they weren't shooken, if that's a word, to start this game despite going down. It's now Bowmanville's turn. Do they have the mental fortitude to take back this lead after giving up what was a 3-0 difference?
This is so impressive, and exactly like you said, they have proven that they are resilient beyond measure. I'm also impressed. It looks like they're keeping a lot of the same players on this line. We're looking at Chandler Nantel, Alexander, once again, both back on the field. I think this is their fourth or fifth point in a row. That's teenage athleticism for you. Bowmanville
Yeah, I was
decide
gonna
to
say,
put
Tim. I
it
think you
and
forget. Tim, you forget what it was like to be in high school. These kids, they can run for days, especially when it matters.
I'm so far away from high school. You're exactly right. I forget everything. I have no recollection. Chandler Nantel on that far sideline, upwind. And that is Deed by Shakalar. Looking to that end zone. That gets caught in the wind. An air ball goes to the back of the end zone. Chandler
I
Nantel
was worried I
running
was
to
going to
pick
hit
it
one of the
up.
cars on that highway back there, Kim.
Chandler Nantel walking it up to the line, working with Chase Alexander, and that gets caught in the wind. Was that Alexander? No, that was not. Yes? Yes. The wind is making these numbers all fuzzy. So Bowmanville get it on that end zone line. This is a chance to get to half after getting broken, and Shakalar gets it done. There looks like there could be a call, but it gets completed. I believe that's Crawford that caught it. So Shakalar to Crawford, a handler pair that works well together. And we just got a score update. Sanjay, do you want to fill the people at home up with the score?
Yeah, we've been talking about how tight this semifinal is. The other semifinal is the exact same way, 7-6 as well. So either way, it's nice. Both teams are going to go into the finals equally as tired. Going to be an equal game. Focusing back on here, it looks like it's half. Bowmanville did take half. Happy for them. They deserve that and a half. We've been talking about Glebe a lot. Second half, everything is open. Both teams can take it. I'll leave it to you to close us out.
Thanks, Sanjay. So we just want to reiterate for those at home, we want to thank our sponsors, Be Ultimate as well as Discraft. And we do want to remind people at home that the Art Hawkins Great Canadian Ultimate Game is back next month, running June 1st to 7th. And so get ahead of the game and make your donation today using the QR code that you see on the screen here. You can go and donate and help the Art Hawkins Fund. We are going to take a break and we will be right back for this exciting semifinal here at the Ultimate Canada High School Invitational.
I love working with the team towards a common goal.
For the camaraderie.
Camaraderie and playing with my teammates.
I play for my team.
Teamwork and the connections that I can build on and off field.
For the community and the exercise.
Because of the community and the competition.
I like playing Ultimate Frisbee for the competition.
I play for the competition and the fun.
For fun.
Because fun.
I love getting to work hard.
You get out of it what you put into it.
Leave everything out here.
Every time I step on the field, I want to be a better player.
You know, give something people to talk about.
Be happy but never satisfied. To step away from real life and focus on Frisbee.
I play because I love Ultimate.
Find your drive.
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 Welcome back to the second half of the Ultimate Canada High School Invitational here in Cambridge, Ontario. We are seeing quite the exciting first half of a semifinal. Glebe versus Bowmanville. Bowmanville going up 4 breaks against Glebe, and Glebe just clawing their way back. We have Bowmanville up 7-6, but right before halftime, it was 6-6 Bowmanville versus Glebe. My name is Kimberly Morin, and I'm joined here by Sanjay, my partner and commentator. Sanjay, thoughts on the first half going into second? How do you see things?
It was a really tight half. I think Bowmanville came out really strong. They had some nice throws, nice catches. Luck went their way a little bit. They caught some throws where Glebe dropped a couple. Glebe then showed great fortitude to bring it back, and Bowmanville were smart enough to take half. I think the second half will show a story of can Glebe carry on their momentum that they finished the first half with, or does Bowmanville have enough in their tank, enough experience and expertise to take this home and get to the finals?
Exactly. So we are seeing quite windy conditions out here. Love that initiation by Glebe to get some throws in because it has proven to be the governing factor here in how successful the teams can be. The throwing, the catching, the wind, it has all been a great mix. That is what is dictating how successful these teams are out here. We are going into the second half. We have a hard cap at 350, so there is max 15 minutes left in this game. There's not much time left to go earn your spot in the finals here at the Ultimate Canada High School Invitational. We had an update from the other semifinal. On the other side of the field, it was Notre Dame versus. Let me try and get you guys that. Kelvin, yes, Kelvin out of Manitoba. And so Notre Dame is up 7-6 at halftime. So both incredibly close games to try and earn a spot into the finals. We would like to take this time to thank all of our tournament organizers. We have Sarah Eady here, who is working overtime trying to get all of the camera, the commentators, everything related to communication. So working incredibly hard. We also want to thank Liane Leduc, who is the tournament director, working hard at trying to get this whole operation running. And so a lot of work done by these lovely ladies. We want to shout them out. Thanks to Ultimate Canada, all the volunteers, the observers that we have on the field, also trying to teach these athletes the rules, trying to make sure that we're keeping the spirit of the game going. So a lot of incredible people that are helping this operation. So let's get started in the second half. Glebe putting it to Bowmanville. Bowmanville starting on O at the second half. Shakalar looking upfield against a interesting Glebe zone. And that is Deed. Glebe get a chance on O. Chandler Nantel putting it in the end zone. And they are right on it. Alexander puts it, and I believe that's completed. It looks like there was some confusion on the field, but Glebe get a break here, 7-7.
Yeah, I think the confusion there was Glebe weren't sure if they were in the end zone or not. Bowmanville maybe said they weren't. And so they did what they were supposed to do, Glebe did, and they tapped it in and threw it while Bowmanville might have still been discussing. Not maybe the most spirited of play, but it's fine. Point there for Glebe. Tie game. That was one of the first
Glebe have
hucks we've
decided that
seen
they're going to make
from
this.
Glebe be brought down in their end zone. Don't know if we'll see more of that, but credit to them for finally getting one over the line.
Yeah, Glebe is gonna make this interesting all the way to the end. They're committed to the plot line. Glebe looking downfield to match up. Bowmanville get another chance on O. Moffitt with the pull. And it stays inbound on that far sideline. Shakalar decides to punt it, and Alexander is going to D that. There are quite a few Bowmanville players down there.
Yeah. Am I surprised Bowmanville shot it there? No. Am I surprised that they had 4 people in the end zone? Also no. Am I surprised that Glebe was the only person who was able to read that disc correctly? A little bit, yeah. Nice read there by Glebe. Tough mark.
Great throw cross field by Chandler Nantel to really get off that far sideline. That is not an easy place to throw from. Gets it to Moffitt. And another shot at the end zone. We have an air battle, and Bowmanville comes down with it. It looked like he had almost started to pivot, which then dictates where your pivot foot is going to be. Yeah, I think he's going to be called on travel. Exactly. The rule here is that once you establish a pivot, you have to then set there, which is where I think this is Crawford. He decided to set his pivot foot, which means he has to now commit to being in the end zone. He decides he is not going to stay there, so he decides to put it. Alexander with the D, and Glebe gets it back on offense. Chandler Nantel kind of alone here in the handler space. Moffitt comes back to help him. Chandler Nantel with another attempt here gets caught in the wind.
Yeah, that looked like it was going to be a bit of a sky ball, a bit of a 50-50, and maybe a neck breaker. And then the wind was like, you know what? Let's not let these teenage athletes injure themselves. I'm going to just pump that up over them, give them no chance of possibly trying to catch that. Tough
Another attempt
drop
here
there.
on a high ball. Yeah. I think that's my gripe with the Glebe offense. If I had any, I wish they would bring another person on handler to help them bolster their handler zone O. I feel like they're missing an extra layer of handler. Shakalar forced to go get it almost in the parking lot. And he's bringing it back to their end zone. They've got to work it all the way down the field. We have 9 minutes left on the game. Attempts another long ball, and unfortunately that rolls all the way to the Glebe end zone. Chandler Nantel decides to put it again, and that is D'd by Bowmanville. Tough drop. Glebe gets it back on O to Alexander. Moffitt back to Chandler Nantel. Chandler Nantel decides to put it, and there is a lot of traffic in the end zone. Bowmanville come down with it. Shakalar puts it. It's a sky ball here again. Not completed. Alexander puts it to the end zone, and that's a turn again.
You have to wonder if the coaches made this decision. They were like, hey, with the tie game, let's just, every time you get it, just shoot it. There's no way that these players are just doing this and the coaches are like, yep, this is exactly what they want without something else being said.
It is unfortunate that these teams are going to drive all the way here, and these are the conditions that you have. Obviously, we cannot decide and choose the the weather that you're going to get for these types of tournaments, especially this early in the season. But it is unfortunate that this is the wind conditions that are forcing these teams to have to play this kind of ultimate. I would be curious to see the full arsenal of their plays and what they're able to pull out here on the field if it weren't this tricky to have to throw and catch.
So true, Kim. We know that Bowmanville love a good hammer. We've only seen one today, and it didn't come out, and that's probably why they're too scared to do another. But I've seen them with use a hammer to great effect, and now we've got a timeout.
Timeout call by Bowmanville. We will be back right after this timeout. So we're back from the timeout here at the Ultimate Canada High School Invitational. We're in the second half of this semifinal, Glebe versus Bowmanville. Both teams trying to earn a spot into the finals. Bowmanville has the disc. They are about halfway down the field. So far, we've seen it's a game of punting and trying to set a defensive zone. We see the other game trying to line up on the far sideline. The other semifinal seems done. We're trying to get a score update for you guys. And so Shakalar puts it in the end zone, and that is not completed. Glebe get a chance on working it up the field. Chandler Nautel on that far tricky sideline. We've seen him punt it a million times out of this, so I wouldn't be surprised if we have another shot to the end zone. And here we go. Bowmanville pick it up. Shakalar puts it in the end zone. Back to square one. We have an update on the other semifinal. It is as tight as this one. We are talking 8-8. Notre Dame versus Kelvin High School out of Manitoba. Notre Dame from Quebec.
So it does make me wonder if that game is similar to this one. Is it just a bunch of huts, or are we going to see a different look in the final in about half an hour?
Great point. Stay tuned for those who want to see it live. Sanjay will be commentating with our other friend Etienne Fournier, and so definitely a game that you want to tune in for.
We've been talking about energy earlier, Kim. We're not seeing a lot of rotation in these lines. It's tough. It's a tough day. There's not going to be a whole lot of a break between these two games. Whoever wins this is going to have to go straight into into the finals, which is why it's nice that the other semifinals is equally as taxing.
Exactly. At this point, we're getting close to almost what looks like a universe. I was going to say we're 7-7. There's about 2 minutes left in the game. Another put here. They're just kind of hoping to get it, and that's a turn. Bowmanville gets the disc. They punt it to the end zone, and it comes out unsuccessful.
So true, Cam. I think both teams know that this next point might decide the game. So we're seeing both teams kind of set up in similar ways. 4 people around the disc and the other 3 far away trying to defend that deep look. So it's really going to be which team has some luck and has that disc fall in the right hands first. I don't know if either team has really played significantly better this game. It's really just been a game. It's been a tight game either side, and I hope whoever does not walk away the victor can leave this feeling positive. Great deflection there on the mark, and great way to gather up and communication by the other Glebe ladies to make sure that stayed in play.
Chandler Nantel is going to have a sore back at the end of this. Oh my goodness. We have a score that's being contested right now. They're saying that they thought it was down.
Tough
Some discussion
for the players. All the players want, obviously, what's best for them. This is why you have observers in games like this. Between you and me, Kim, it did look down, but we're pretty far away. It's hard to know for sure. Unfortunately, no replay in a game like today.
That's a tough one. Moffat here coming off the field. And that is deemed a goal for Bowmanville. I believe that earns them a spot in the finals. And we also hear that Kelvin win 9-8 in the other semifinals. So Kelvin coming down from a 7-6 at halftime to win it 9-8. And so it's going to be a Bowmanville versus Kelvin final.
Devastating result there for Glebe. Same with Notre Dame in the other semifinal. But I think both teams probably played really well. I can say that for sure for Glebe. I hope they keep their head held high and take home that victory. Take home in that Lions coat of beating ECI in the quarterfinals. That was no mean feat, and they played well. They made a huge comeback today, and they'll hopefully be back next year.
Completely agree. The effort and the resiliency that Glebe displayed in this game is, I don't want to say unmatched, but definitely something to be noted. It was insane what they accomplished in this game. Big shout out to Glebe and their coaching staff, the athletes that were on the field relentlessly. Chandler Nantel having thrown pretty much a million hucks in this game. It was a hard-fought effort. Both teams played well. It's going to be an interesting showdown between Bowmanville and Kelvin. Stay tuned. The final is on Ultimate Canada's YouTube channel at 4 p.m. There's going to be some great commentators. Etienne and Sanjay will be joining you, keeping you abreast on all the analysis and the information that you need. So thank you, Sanjay. Truly appreciate all your insight.
Thanks, Kim. Happy to be here. I'll see you folks soon.
Thank you. See you soon.
I love working with a team towards a common goal.
For the camaraderie.
Camaraderie and playing with my teammates.
I play for my team.
Teamwork and the connections that I can build on and off field.
For the community and the exercise.
Because of the community and the competition.
I like playing Ultimate Frisbee for the competition.
I play for the competition and the fun.
For fun.
Because fun.
I love getting to work hard.
You get out of it what you put into it.
Leave everything out here.
Every time I step on the field, I want to be a better player.
You know, give something people to talk about.
Be happy but never satisfied. To step away from real life and focus on Frisbee.
I play because I love Ultimate.
Find your drive.
Find your drive.
Find your drive.
Find your drive.
Find your drive.